Welcome back, everyone. Today we're talking about something so simple, so small, that most people walk right past it in their kitchen cabinet every single morning without ever thinking twice about it, and that's cinnamon. Specifically, what happens inside your body when you add just one small pinch of it to your morning coffee before you drink it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Doctor, it's just a spice. How much difference can it really make? And that's a fair question. But by the end of this video, I think you're going to look at that little jar in your spice rack completely differently, because what we're about to go through isn't some passing trend. It's something that's actually backed by real physiological mechanisms happening in your blood, your gut, your brain, and even your heart every single time you take a sip. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into exactly why this one small habit might be one of the easiest upgrades you make to your morning routine all year. Why your morning coffee matters more than you think. Before we talk about cinnamon itself, I want you to think about your morning coffee for a second. For most of us, it's the very first thing that enters our bloodstream after 6, 7, sometimes 8 hours of sleep. Your body has been fasting all night. Your blood sugar is at a certain baseline. Your cortisol, your stress hormone, is naturally at its highest point of the day right when you wake up, because that's actually how your body is designed to get you up and moving. So whatever you put into your body in those first 30 to 60 minutes of the day has an outsized effect compared to, say, a snack you have at 3 p.m. Your body is essentially a blank canvas first thing in the morning, and the coffee, along with whatever's in it, is one of the first things painting on that canvas. That's exactly why this small addition matters so much. You're not just flavoring your coffee. You're potentially influencing how your blood sugar responds for the next few hours, how your inflammation markers behave, and even how alert and clear-headed you feel by mid-morning. A quick history lesson. Interestingly, this isn't some new biohacking trend that started on social media. Cultures across South Asia, the Middle East, and parts of the Mediterranean have been adding warming spices like cinnamon to hot beverages for literally hundreds of years, not for taste alone, but because traditional medicine systems in these regions recognize certain physical effects long before modern laboratories could explain the why behind it. In Ayurvedic tradition, cinnamon has long been classified as a warming spice believed to support digestion and circulation. In parts of the Middle East, cinnamon is commonly added to coffee and tea during colder months, again tied to this traditional belief in its warming, circulation-friendly properties. So in many ways, what we're talking about today is simply modern science catching up to something people have practiced for generations. The science, what's actually in cinnamon. Let's get into the actual substance itself. Cinnamon comes from the inner bark of trees in the cinnamomum family. There are two main types you'll find commercially: cassia cinnamon, which is the more common, less expensive variety typically found in grocery stores, and Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, which has a slightly milder flavor and a different chemical profile. The compound that gets the most attention in cinnamon is called cinnamaldehyde. This is the essential oil compound responsible for cinnamon's distinctive smell and flavor, and it's also the compound most researchers point to when discussing cinnamon's potential effects on the body. Beyond cinnamaldehyde, cinnamon also contains a range of antioxidant compounds called polyphenols, which is a category of plant compounds widely studied for their role in reducing oxidative stress in the body. Now let's break down, point by point, what a small pinch of this in your coffee may actually be doing inside you. Point 1, blood sugar support. This is probably the most talked about benefit associated with cinnamon, and for good reason. A number of studies over the years have looked at cinnamon's relationship with blood sugar regulation, particularly around insulin sensitivity. The general idea here is that certain compounds in cinnamon may help your cells respond more effectively to insulin, the hormone responsible for shuttling sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells for energy. Here's why this matters for your morning coffee specifically. Coffee on its own, especially if you take it with sugar or a sweetened creamer, can cause a noticeable spike in blood sugar, followed by a corresponding dip, which is exactly what leads to that mid-morning energy crash so many people experience around 10 or 11 a.m. By adding a pinch of cinnamon, some research suggests you may be able to soften that blood sugar spike, which in theory could translate into a steadier, more stable energy release rather than a sharp rise and fall. Now, to be clear, I'm not telling you this replaces any medication or treatment plan for blood sugar management. If you have diabetes or any blood sugar condition, please continue following your doctor's guidance. What we're discussing here is a small supportive habit, not a medical treatment. Point 2, anti-inflammatory properties. Inflammation is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot these days. So let's actually define what we mean. Your body has a natural inflammatory response. It's how your immune system deals with injury or infection. That's a good thing in the short term. The issue arises with what's called chronic low-grade inflammation, a kind of background inflammation that doesn't fully switch off and over years has been linked by researchers to a wide range of common health concerns. Cinnamaldehyde, the same compound we discussed earlier, has been studied specifically for its potential anti-inflammatory properties. Along with the polyphenol antioxidants present in cinnamon, the overall profile of this spice is one that many nutrition researchers point to as having a favorable anti-inflammatory footprint compared to many other common household spices. So when you add that pinch to your coffee each morning, you're essentially giving your body a small daily dose of these compounds. Not enough to dramatically change your health overnight, but as part of a consistent daily habit, small inputs like this can add up meaningfully over time. Point 3, heart health support. Your cardiovascular system is another area where cinnamon has drawn research interest. Several studies have looked at cinnamon's relationship with cholesterol markers, specifically LDL cholesterol, sometimes referred to as the bad cholesterol, along with triglyceride levels in the blood. The proposed mechanism ties back, again, to those antioxidant polyphenols we mentioned. Oxidative stress is believed to play a role in how cholesterol particles behave in your bloodstream, and antioxidant-rich compounds are thought to help counter some of that oxidative activity. Some research has also pointed to a potential mild effect on blood pressure, likely tied to cinnamon's impact on blood vessel function and circulation. Again, I want to be responsible here and say clearly, cinnamon is not a substitute for heart medication, and if you have a diagnosed cardiovascular condition, this is a conversation to have with your physician, not a replacement for professional care. What we're discussing is a supportive daily habit, nothing more. Point 4, metabolism and weight management. A lot of people ask me about this specifically. Does cinnamon help with weight? Here's an honest, balanced answer. Cinnamon itself is not a fat-burning miracle spice, and anyone telling you that is overselling it. However, there are a couple of indirect mechanisms worth understanding. First, as we discussed with blood sugar, when your blood sugar is more stable throughout the morning, you're less likely to experience the sharp hunger spikes and cravings that often follow a blood sugar crash. Second, cinnamon has a naturally sweet flavor profile without any actual sugar or calories, which means for many people it becomes an easy way to cut back on adding actual sugar to their coffee, since the cinnamon itself provides a sense of warmth and sweetness. So while cinnamon isn't a metabolism-boosting magic bullet on its own, when used as a sugar substitute and blood sugar stabilizer, it can play a small supportive role within a broader healthy routine. Point 5. Brain health and cognitive function. This is one area of research that's still developing, but early findings are interesting enough to mention. Some laboratory and animal studies have looked at cinnamon's potential neuroprotective properties, meaning its potential role in protecting brain cells from oxidative damage over time. While we need to be cautious about applying early-stage research directly to daily human habits, the underlying antioxidant properties of cinnamon are consistent with what we generally understand about protecting long-term brain health, namely that reducing oxidative stress throughout the body, including in brain tissue, is generally considered beneficial for long-term cognitive health. Combine that with coffee's own well-documented relationship with alertness and short-term cognitive performance through caffeine, and you've got a cup that's doing quite a bit of work for your brain first thing in the morning. Point 6. Digestive comfort. Traditional medicine systems have long associated cinnamon with digestive comfort, and there is some modern research that supports at least part of this reputation. Cinnamon has been studied for potential effects on gut motility and has shown some antimicrobial properties in laboratory settings against certain strains of bacteria. For many people, a warm cup of coffee with a bit of cinnamon in the morning can feel more gut-friendly than black coffee alone, particularly for those who find that straight black coffee on an empty stomach can feel a little harsh. The warming, slightly sweet profile of cinnamon can make that morning cup feel gentler overall. Point 7. Antioxidant load and immune support. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about antioxidant more broadly. Interestingly, cinnamon actually ranks quite high on lists comparing antioxidant content across common spices and herbs, often ranking above better-known superfoods gram for gram. Antioxidants play a role in neutralizing free radicals, which are unstable molecules that can contribute to cellular damage over time when left unchecked. A stronger overall antioxidant intake is generally associated by researchers with better long-term immune resilience. So that small pinch you're adding isn't just about flavor. You're meaningfully boosting the antioxidant content of your morning drink with essentially zero effort and zero added calories. How to actually do this correctly? Now let's get practical, because how you do this matters. Here's what I'd recommend. Amount. Start with roughly 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon per cup. You genuinely don't need much. Cinnamon is potent, and more isn't necessarily better. A small pinch mixed directly into your grounds before brewing or stirred into your finished cup is plenty. Type, if you have the option. Ceylon cinnamon is generally considered the gentler choice for regular daily use, partly due to its lower coumarin content, a naturally occurring compound found in higher amounts in cassia cinnamon that in very large quantities over long periods has raised some concern in research, particularly regarding liver health. For occasional use, cassia is perfectly fine for most people, but if you're doing this every single day long term, Ceylon may be the more sensible choice. When to add it? You can either stir it directly into your ground coffee before brewing, which allows the flavor to infuse more evenly, or simply stir it into your finished cup. Both work. It's really down to personal preference. Pairing tip: a small amount of healthy fat, like a splash of milk, cream, or even a touch of coconut oil, can help with how well your body absorbs some of cinnamon's fat-soluble compounds, similar to what we see discussed with turmeric and black pepper. Common mistakes people make. I want to flag a few mistakes I see people make with this habit, because doing it wrong can undercut the benefits. Mistake 1, using too much. More cinnamon does not mean more benefit. In fact, excessive daily cinnamon intake, particularly of the cassia variety, is where that coumarin concern I mentioned becomes more relevant. Stick to a modest pinch. Mistake 2, adding excess sugar anyway. If you're adding a teaspoon of sugar or several pumps of flavored syrup along with your cinnamon, you're working against the very blood sugar benefit we just discussed. Let the cinnamon provide the warmth and natural sweetness instead. Mistake 3, inconsistency. Like most nutrition-related habits, the benefit of cinnamon isn't really about one single cup. It's about consistency over weeks and months. Doing it once won't transform your health. Doing it as a steady daily habit is where any cumulative benefit is more likely to show up. Who should be cautious? I always like to be balanced and responsible in these videos. So let's talk about who should be a little more careful here. If you are on blood-thinning medication, have a diagnosed liver condition, or are pregnant, it's worth having a quick conversation with your doctor before making this a daily habit, simply due to the coumarin content in cassia cinnamon specifically. This isn't meant to alarm anyone. For the vast majority of healthy adults, a small daily pinch is considered safe. But if you fall into one of these categories, a quick check-in with your physician is always the responsible move. Bringing it all together. So let's recap everything we've covered today. That one small pinch of cinnamon you add to your coffee tomorrow morning may be quietly supporting your blood sugar stability, contributing antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds to your system, offering some support to your cardiovascular markers, indirectly assisting with cravings and metabolism, potentially protecting long-term brain health, aiding digestive comfort, and boosting your overall antioxidant intake for the day, all from a spice that's probably already sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. It costs you nothing extra. It takes 5 seconds, and it's backed by a combination of centuries of traditional use and a growing body of modern research pointing toward real, measurable effects. Tomorrow morning, before you take that first sip, reach for that jar, take a small pinch, and give your body that little extra support to start the day right. If this video helped you, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below telling me, do you already do this? Or is this something new you're going to try tomorrow? I read every single comment and I genuinely love to know. Take care of yourselves, take care of your health, and I'll see you in the next video.